Hello YouTube, if you're out there just getting started. It's a Sunday afternoon, so I'm moving slow. Give me a chance here. Okay, we're going to be live streaming across multiple platforms. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes while I'm getting all the streams up and running. And make sure I got the camera on and all the different views. We should be streaming now on YouTube. Both shorts as well as on landscape. So if you are watching on shorts, I highly recommend going over to the landscape view so you'll be able to see the screens better, because I won't be able to really share the screens that we're going to talk about, or I'll end up walking through later on. So give me a chance here. In terms of chats, you should be able to drop comments if you like, questions, happy to take them. I should be able to see everybody's chats, comments, questions across all the different streams. Okay, let's see here. Okay, happy Sunday to everybody. I think all the live streams are up and running. We have, I think TikTok has still got to come up. Okay, give me just 1 second here. Let's get going. Good Sunday afternoon. So make sure I can see all the chats and comments here. Give me a second. Okay, I think we are streaming across all the platforms. So, just a quick reminder, we're streaming on YouTube. Streaming on YouTube long and shorts. We are streaming also on TikTok, and we are streaming on X, formerly Twitter. So if you have questions, comments, drop them in. I am happy to try to answer them for you. And looks like Sky, do the best I can with the screen names. How's my day going? My day's going pretty well. It's Sunday afternoon here in Chicago, Illinois, which is the United States. For anybody who may not be familiar, it's in the afternoon, 1:30 or so in my afternoon, and we're just getting started. I'm going to do a little live streaming and answer anybody's questions they might have regarding anything related to AI. But what I really want to kind of start walking through is something called prompt-led development. So there's a lot of misinformation out there regarding AI and programming. So quick little background on who I am and why you might care about anything that I have to say. My name's Joe. I've been in enterprise software for nearly 30 years, and AI is definitely the greatest gift and revolution or maybe evolution that I've experienced in my 30 years of technology. So I'd like to share that with everybody, as well as try to distill some of the, what I call, and pardon my French, bullshit hype that's out there regarding vibe coding. Okay. Is vibe coding possible? Yes, I would say it's possible, but for very simplified type of applications. And mainly what you get from Vibe is a UI that looks like it works, but probably doesn't. And I'm a coffee drinker, so excuse me while I enjoy my coffee as well. So if you have questions, comments, drop them into chat. Again, we're streaming on multiple platforms. I should be able to see everything that comes in, and I'm happy to try to address them. So what are we going to do? Well, let me share out a few things with you. First of all, let me share out my perspective. Number one, again, long time in the business. What I'm trying to drive home and what I'm trying to share with a lot of people, especially technical people. Okay, so if you're somebody who already has some technical skills and you really want to take them to the next level in your own job, if you're currently in a job that requires either some technical expertise, or whether you have a job in which you're finding that your management, okay, because I work in corporate America as well. I work for a multi-billion-dollar company, and I understand the pressure lots of employees are getting from what we call the C-suite, right? If you're not familiar with that term, it simply means the people who are sitting at the top of your company, your CEO, your CTO, etc. This is the C-suite, right? The C-suite is the people who are looking to you to embrace and to utilize AI in your day-to-day job. And why are they wanting you to do that? Well, for two main reasons. Number one, they want you to become more productive, okay? And what that actually means is they want to see you produce more output for the same amount of money, the same number of hours, okay? This is just the reality of it. To that point, though, they are still trying to figure out where AI fits within the large corporation, okay? Within your job, within your role, within other roles within the large company you may be working for, or even a medium-sized company, okay? The people who are involved at the level of the C-suite are trying to figure out, how do we use AI? How can the employees use AI? And how can we take the most advantage of it in terms of increasing our productivity, lowering our costs, and things of this nature? The only problem is these folks don't really understand how it can be used. So that's why they are looking to you to say, hey, tell me what you're doing with it and how you can do it. And let's then share that with your fellow coworkers, and in doing so, we can potentially, elevate our entire game to become more productive. But we all know what happens when you have a large group of people become more productive. Some people are going to get laid off. So my goal here is to simply try to share some information with you guys, answer some questions, especially if you're in corporate America and you're trying to figure out how you should be using AI and how you can use AI. Now, again, I'm a very technical person. Technology and software is what I've been doing for 30 years. So because of that, I have embraced this concept of using AI for a lot of my specific problem-solving tasks that I have, that I do basically 8-9 hours a day. And so to that point, I start doing what I call prompt-led development. Now, some people say, well, isn't that vibe coding? And I would say to you, nope, that is not vibe coding. So vibe coding tends to be very shallow, okay? Tends to be very high level in terms of asking for something, okay? I want to build an application. That application, we want to do something with it. I'm going to switch around my screens here a little bit so you guys can start seeing some of my IDEs and other things that I'm going to be sharing. So you've got vibe coding on one hand. It's only going to get you so far. And the problem with vibe coding is that I can say with a high degree of certainty, okay, 99%, if not 99.9% of people who do anything from a vibe coding perspective have no idea what they have just created from an architectural perspective. Now, when I'm using the terminology architecture, it's strictly within the concept of software, okay, and technology. It's got nothing to do with building a house or building a building, okay? So it's the software architecture. And when you are vibe coding, you have, in most cases, no idea what's going on behind the scenes. You also think that the end result, if it's a pretty screen, that is the end result of your solution, and it's not. Okay, it's just the start of your solution. There are a lot of aspects that go into building, whether you're building a SaaS, which is software as a service, okay, which is something that you may potentially add users to, paid users or paid companies to, or whether you're trying to build a standalone type of piece of software that you just want to use yourself. There are a lot of aspects you have to take into consideration, okay? Things like persistence. Are you going to have a database behind the scenes? Are you going to have multiple services behind the scenes? How are these services going to communicate with each other? How are users going to be able to access the product? How are they going to log into it? What does that authentication mechanism look like? Okay. What about maintenance? How are you going to scale this thing up if you're planning to deliver it as a SaaS? Okay. If you are incorporating AI into it, okay, and what I mean by incorporating AI into it, I'm talking about actually implementing AI as the brain functionality, okay, to your application, to your SaaS application. Stop and think for a moment. If you implement, okay, AI as the brain functionality to your application that you're building, well, you have just opened up what I call Pandora's box, okay, and I'll tell you why in a minute. That's going to be the case. And I see somebody dropping into, we are streaming on multiple platforms. We're streaming on X, we're streaming on TikTok, and YouTube, long and shorts. Drop your comments, drop your questions. I will be happy to try to answer them. And what am I talking about? So mainly we're talking about AI, but very specifically I want to talk about this difference between what I call prompt-led development, PLD, okay, and vibe coding. So vibe coding is a marketing hype term that has been promoted by these platforms that want to sell you subscription, okay, and want to try to convince you that even if you have no technical background, you too can create an application. Well, anybody who is in my area of expertise, and this is as a solutions architect or software architect, they laugh at that because they understand the complexity that goes into building an application that is going to go beyond your desktop. Now, if you're trying to build something for your own personal use, very small footprint is what we'd call it, okay, where you're just going to deploy it on your own desktop, you probably can vibe something that gives you what you want, okay? But here's a perfect example. If you guys have heard of something called OpenClaw, and now there are other similar products out there called Hermes. These are orchestration or agents that have been developed, okay, to utilize AI. Now, I'm going to try to, let me take a step back here for a second. I want to make sure that people understand when anybody uses the term AI, it is such a broad term and it covers so much. And the problem is a lot of people just don't understand that. I mean, when you say the word AI, for some people, they immediately think of robots, right? They think about the robots coming to kill them. They say AI, they think about Hell from the movie 2002. I forget the other the actual movie name. If you know it, drop it. Say hi. But the bottom line is that when you implement, when you say the word AI, everybody thinks about all sorts of things, okay? The bottom line is AI is artificial intelligence. It's got lots of varied aspects to it. Now, when it comes to using AI, okay, when it comes to using AI specifically in building an application, software, okay, you've got two main choices. Either A, you can build the software with AI, okay, or B, your software could be powered by AI. Now, those are two very different things. The first being built by AI. Okay, that is like working with a software developer contractor. Okay, where you're utilizing AI as your contractor to build out your software from the ground up. Pardon me. Now you have full control over that process. You have full control over what that looks like. And that's primarily what I am doing is I am using AI to build out software or to solve problems. Okay. Now it's very structured and it's a very objective kind of measurement in terms of what it's doing for me and the accomplishment of what it is trying to achieve for me. Okay. Now, on the flip side, if your software is powered by AI, it's a very different thing. And that is what OpenClaw, in essence, has done. The other platforms out there, the other kind of orchestration layers, I think Hermes is another one that's out there recently, is utilizing AI as the brain within the actual runtime environment of the software. Now, here's the problem with that, okay? And I know for some of you, some of this terminology I use may be a bit confusing. I would encourage you to just drop me a note, okay? Drop me a note into chat here if something doesn't make sense, and I'm happy to explain it. I've been a consultant for nearly 30 years. Explaining technical stuff, especially complicated technical stuff, it's what I do. But I don't want to assume everybody knows what I'm talking about, and I don't want to assume everybody out there doesn't know what I'm talking about. So when it comes to an AI, okay, that is being used to power your software, you have now connected software, which is largely rule-based and deterministic, okay, which is what it's been since the dawn of time, okay, into a brain that is not rules-based or deterministic, okay? Now, those words, what do they mean? I'll try to give you as simple of an example as I can. Rules-based is as simple as if x equals 1, then do something. If x doesn't equal 1, then don't do that thing. That is a rule. It's a very simple rule, but that is a rule. Then you have on top of that deterministic. What's deterministic? Basically it means if I put a value in for x equals a value into x that is equal to 1, and I've got a formula that says x equals 1, then do something. Well, guess what? The next time I put a value into x of the value 1, it's going to have the same outcome. It's deterministic, okay? AI by its nature is not. It is the inference process is something that is done over neural networks and through very complicated algorithms and weights. And at the end of the day, even the people like the Sam Altmans, like the Darios, no matter what you think of these people, okay, will tell you point blank directly to your face. They will say to you, okay, that we don't fully understand what these AI models are doing. When we put information or request into the model, which is basically the step of inference, okay, we don't really know what it's doing. It's still very much of a black box to us in terms of how it's doing, what it's doing, and what it's achieving. Hey, Zeke, welcome back. Nice to see you again. So rules-based deterministic is very different than a AI or large language model. Now, if you think about taking something that is rules-based, deterministic, and then you hook that up to something that is not deterministic, okay, you are opening Pandora's box. And what do I mean by that? You now have connected it to a brain that may give you one answer one time, a different answer the next time, slightly different modification the next time, depending on the loop of conversation that is occurring there. And thanks for the hearts, I really appreciate it. You're going to get very different outcomes. Okay, so this is the key distinction, if you will, between powering something by AI and building something by AI. Now, when I build with AI, it's a very distinct, I use a very structured process, okay? I use something called PLD, prompt-led development. I stay in control, I am the software architect. Okay, I stay in control in the process. I'm the human. I stay human in the loop. HITL, which is a popular term these days. And again, thanks for the hearts. I really appreciate it. So what it boils down to is that if you're building, great, you can use AI and you can know what you're getting and you can learn what you're getting throughout the process. If you're hooking up some piece of software to AI in terms of it being powered by AI, well, especially if you don't really understand what you're doing, and there's plenty of examples out there where people have implemented software that they did not build, but it's powered by AI, and they thought, oh, this is a great idea. I'm just going to hook this up to AI. And one of the latest social media posting going on right now is about a gentleman who apparently got a $6,000 bill from one of the large language companies. I think it might have been OpenAI or might have been Anthropic, that he got a bill for $6,000. Well, he got a bill for $6,000 because he didn't understand what he was doing. He hooked up the software that he didn't understand, okay, to a large language model. He did this through something called an API. For those who don't, or maybe not familiar with it, an API is a way of connecting two pieces of software together, basically, and didn't put any kind of rate limits on this stuff, okay, and therefore the LLM kept running and running and running, large context going through, large context coming back, and at the end of the day, he gets a $6,000 bill. Now, do you think Anthropic really cares that you didn't understand what you're doing? Probably not. So who knows what's going to happen with that particular with that particular bill, okay? But the bottom line is this: is there's so much, and again, pardon my French, but I'm somewhat passionate about this. But there's so much bullshit hype out there regarding AI and vibe coding and all these companies who are racing into, building out these quote unquote vibe coding platforms that want you, no matter who you are, technical, non-technical, have a clue, don't have a clue, to jump in, pay your $30 subscription a month, whatever it is, and start vibe coding, okay? And it's a highly risky thing to do. And again, if you go out and you search, you're going to find plenty of horror stories out there these days of people who have done this, especially with something like an OpenClaw, and have either A, got their accounts banned completely, or B, have got huge AI bills because they did not understand what they were doing. So for me, the safest thing you can do is to build with AI. Now, when you're building with AI, the great thing about it is you have full visibility of what's going on, as long as you're, again, have an understanding of what you're doing, and don't just like throw something at AI and just say, hey, go do it, and get back to me in a week, okay? But if you're monitoring the process, and if you're using the proper subscription services, okay, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, then you're not going to get any big surprise bills, okay? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to get a bill from OpenAI or from Anthropic that looks like my mortgage. I don't think that would be a very good thing. So again, talking about AI programming, specifically around prompt-led development. Got questions, got comments, drop them into chat. I can see pretty much all of them across the platform here. Give me 1 second. The only problem with streaming across multiple platforms is there's a lot to watch. Okay, so let's okay, what's going on with TikTok? Give me a second. Okay, so let's take a look at, well, actually, let me hit on the subscriptions for a moment. So this is a question I get asked a lot in various social media platforms. So I'm on YouTube, TikTok, X, pretty much under the same account name. I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you're somebody new, and maybe you have some technical background, maybe you're either going to school for programming or you just like it as a hobby, the best way, the absolute best way right now, in my opinion, to step a foot into, again, what I'm going to call prompt-led development, not vibe coding, is going to be through an OpenAI subscription plan, specifically an OpenAI Plus plan. And I'll tell you why in a moment. I do see a question coming in. I think this is from YouTube. What is a save AI to use to protect what you are doing? I'm not 100% sure what that means. If you want to elaborate a little bit more on the question, I'm happy to try to answer it for you. But what is the save AI to use to protect what you are doing? Oh, so if I understand the question, it might be related to how you can use it to kind of save your job. I can give you a very clear answer to that. So I can guarantee you that if you put 10 people in a room, I assume you have a job, maybe corporate America, if you pull 10 of your closest colleagues into a room, okay, where you work, and you start talking about AI, 9 out of 10 of those people, their eyes are going to glaze over, they're going to be confused, and they will have no idea really what you're talking about. People are challenged to change, okay? People don't like to change, right? And AI is a huge change that is happening at a rate that we've never seen any other change before in our lifetimes. And that just happens to be a fact. So the simple answer to your question is this: be the leader, okay? Be the person who steps up, who learns what it is that they can do with AI within your specific role. And if I understood your role, I might be able to give you some ideas. But use it within your role to solve problems, to increase your productivity, and potentially to lower cost and increase, revenue that you can potentially bring in as well. Excuse me. But simply put, if you're the one out of the 10 people in your organization that are doing this, when it comes time for layoffs, the reality is that they're going to think long and hard about keeping you, because you've increased your productivity, okay, versus the people who have not, and who have not embraced the concept of AI, okay. But I can also tell you that lots of large companies are very challenged with still trying to figure out how it fits into their day-to-day operations, okay. So there's opportunities there in a lot of different aspects. Okay, so what does prompt-led development look like? So let's start with this. Excuse me. So prompt-led development looks something like this. Let me move around some screens. Okay. So you should be able to see the screen. I'm going to jump over to. So what am I building? That's going to probably be the first question most of you are going to ask me, and that is a good question. So I highly encourage everybody and anybody, if you are, again, a technical person, okay, who wants to start understanding what AI can do for you as a builder, right? Remember, we're just talking about AI as a builder versus AI powered. So AI as a builder, okay? The thing I would encourage you to do is to start developing a project. I honestly don't care what the project is, but if you're somebody who's technical, and what do I mean by that? Somebody who has some understanding, okay, of a programming language, of software architecture, of basic logic concepts, okay, whether you are in high school or about to graduate high school, or whether you're somebody who's looking to go into college or study something, or you're somebody who has got 20 years working in software, either software development, software architecture, software engineering, any of these things. The thing that I would encourage you to do is on your own time, okay, to jump in and decide on a project, okay, and start building out a project, okay. Now, again, when we talk about projects, what we're talking about are software projects. So, again, my recommendation for anybody in terms of getting started at the least amount of cost with using, and this is the important distinction, getting started with the least amount of cost, but at the same time, still being able to take advantage of some of the most sophisticated coding tools out there, and that is OpenAI's Codex and signing up for their Plus account. Plus account's about $20 a month. They give you a generous amount of tokens to use for Codex, which is their main coding agent, okay? So what does that look like? Well, that looks like you getting into VS Code, okay, which is what I have opened over here. So this whole black interface you see over here is something called an IDE, Interactive Development Environment. It's called VS Code. It is free, okay? So this interface you see is free, okay? You go and you sign up at OpenAI for your $20 a month Plus account. And this is not a promo or sponsored. It just is the best deal on the internet today. Excuse me. So you get everything set up, and I'm not going to go into those details now, but it's fairly easy because it's basically a plug-in to VS Code. And once you set it up, you are going to have a little interface on the depending on your layout. So just to be clear, VS Code layouts are very customizable, so it's up to you how you want to customize them. This is simply the way that I have mine set up. So what does, prompt-led development look like? Well, here I am connected to actually a remote server that I have for this particular project, and I probably should take a step back. What is my project? My project is something that I call a short-term Bitcoin, okay, price predictor. Now, here's the important thing to understand. This is less about Bitcoin, and I am not trying to sell you Bitcoin, okay? So this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go out there and make a big investment in Bitcoin. That's not what this is about. What it's about is me as somebody who's got a deep technical background, and I work in enterprise software, full-time, multi-billion-dollar company. I work with AI all day long doing that, and I work with AI in the evenings doing my personal projects. I work with AI for about 12 hours a day, okay? This is what it really amounts to these times. Now, when I talk about the project, my particular project, and I've actually got a couple different ones going on, but the one that I'm focused on right now is related to a short-term Bitcoin price prediction. Now, why would I do that? Well, I recently discovered, and probably for some of you, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and for others, maybe not. But I recently discovered a little something called Kelshi. Okay, so the more popular one out there is Polymarkets. Okay, but for U.S.-based people, Polymarket has been closed for us. I think it's beginning to open. So I started looking at Kelshi, which is another probability market. So I got this great idea in my brain, and I thought to myself, what if I built a short-term prediction model of my own in order to try to not only hedge my predictions for the probability market, specifically for short-term price moves for Bitcoin, but what else could I, what other kind of features could I add to that? So other features I added to it were basically things like automated trading. So let me bring that up so folks can kind of better understand. And Pardon me, I've got a little frog in my throat. Okay, so I've just brought this up. So why this may be true and will one day return to dust and ashes. I have no doubt we're all going to return to dust and ashes. No doubt at all. Thank you, John. Okay, so what I just fired up on my side here, and again, I think all my screens are updated so you can see this. So I started building out this project. So this project, again, is a short-term price prediction for Bitcoin. Why? Because in the markets, in the probability markets, you can make bets, and you basically can make bets on whether a Bitcoin price is going to go up or down within a relatively short amount of time. 15 minutes is the market that I'm mainly focused on, and that 15-minute market is kind of interesting. But the bottom line is this: it was a concept that I had. So again, I'm a very technical person. I also have got a bit of a creative brain, and I thought to myself, this is the probability market's quite interesting. The part that interests me more than anything else is the probability markets. That is what I would call deterministic, if you will, or objective, right? So the price of Bitcoin is objective. It's not probability of somebody saying something at some point in time, which they also have. But this is the concept of, okay, is the price going to close above or below a certain strike point within a 15-minute period of time? And if it does, then, depending on the bet you made, whether it's a yes or no, it pays out. So I got this idea to use AI to build out a platform that would allow me to better predict whether the price of Bitcoin in a 15-minute period of time, very specifically, was going to close above or below a strike point. So let me open this up. So as the screens are refreshing out there, you can see what we have. Sorry, I'm trying to manage some screens here and okay. So this is the project that I had in mind, and it's basically, like I said, it's a short-term price prediction, right? Now, I started building this out, and where I initially started building this out, okay, and this is the key. When it comes to prompt-led development, right, prompt-led development involves planning, okay? The P stands for prompt, not planning, but still, the concept here is that you plan. And not only do you plan, but in that process, you explore best practices. You ask questions, you answer questions, and you refine what your software stack, at least your initial software stack, what is that going to look like? And that translates into also your overall project. How are you going to structure your project? Okay, and so to that point, that is a process. It's not something that happens, in 60 seconds. It is a process, that you can spend, maybe a couple hours doing, or maybe you spend a day or two. So what does that look like? Well, what I do, and this is how you can save yourself a significant amount of money, okay? Let me see if I can find my start of my conversation here. As you can see, all my chats. Okay. So if you're still out there and you're paying attention, this is how you optimize a $20 a month, okay, OpenAI subscription for prompt-led development, okay, for coding. How do I do this? I don't start my projects, okay, directly into Codex. I start my projects in the web-based Chat GPT, okay? Now, I create a project. I provide any type of documentation I may have access to or context that I may have access to be included in the project. And then I have a Plus account, so I do have some features and functions that if you are working with a free account, you may not have available to you. But for $20 a month, it is well worth it. Excuse me. So I start my initial planning here, and as you can see, I had a number of conversations with ChatGPT, the latest model, deep thinking, to explore this concept, okay? Now, what I do is I do my planning, and in this interface as well, I will have it ask questions of me, and we'll go back and forth, and it is a process. So this began in the 25th of March. And if I scroll all the way back here to the very first prompt I put in, okay? My very first prompt here says, if you were going to build an analytical control center for the purposes of predicting the price movement of BTC, Bitcoin, within a 15-minute or less time frame, what are the things you would consider ongoing research, correlated metrics, causation metrics, etc.? Do not lecture me on the risks, because sometimes, when you're working with the AI, it gets a little sycophant. If you're not familiar with that word, basically means it's way too nice, and then sometimes it's way too safe, and you're like, just give me the answers I'm looking for. So, excuse me. So to that end, we are starting our conversation off here. I'm just checking something. Give me 1 second. I gotta check where we are with numbers here. Okay. So here we start off with the conversation, and we ask it, basically we give it the information, the initial information. But as you can see here, I have a very long conversation. Now, all of this is outside of OpenAI's Codex. Codex is their main programming model, but that does not mean that the other models of ChatGPT don't understand software architecture or don't understand software technology. Okay, they do. They understand it very well, and they're more than capable of doing a lot of the coding as well. Okay, however, it's just easier, especially when you're doing project work. Okay, it's a whole lot easier to do that here within this interface. And for some reason, my history is not refreshing. I don't know why. Let's see if we can get one to refresh. There we go. So it's a whole lot easier to work within your IDE, which is intended to work with a code base, an actual repo for your project that you're working on. It's a whole lot easier to work within this environment when it comes to using a coding agent for a variety of reasons, for access, for organization, for real-time updates, and all sorts of things. But this is the piece that lots of people miss, and that is, you know, I see this all the time on the various social media platforms, right? People are complaining nonstop about running out of tokens, right? I hit my limit, I hit my limit, I hit my limit. Well, guess what? You hit your limit because you're not strategically approaching how to maximize your subscriptions, okay? I get a lot of coding done with Codex because I do a lot of planning up front in ChatGPT, okay? So I do the initial planning, I do the initial fleshing out of the concepts, the project, etc. Okay, and as I flesh those things out, and I get closer and closer and closer to something that I want to turn over to Codex as the coding agent, what I then end up doing is I will, at some point in time, okay, is I will, you'll notice here, I will ask ChatGPT, okay, write a prompt. This is right up here, okay. Write a prompt I can use for Codex Coding Agent, who has been the primary software engineer on this project, taking into consideration your advice and best practices. The prompt needs to tell Codex Agent to update all documentation in detail and perhaps create a handover document, etc., etc., etc. Okay, you can, even though you can't connect some agents and some AI directly with each other, and when I say that, I'm really talking about from a consumer perspective, okay, not from a corporate perspective or from a large solution perspective. If you're building a significant solution, there's lots of different ways you can connect multiple AI models and multiple agents together. But what I'm referring to is actually related to you as a consumer using these products. Okay, it's very difficult to connect them together, but what you can do is you can do handoff documents between the AI models and the different platforms. So even as in my example here, I'm using OpenAI as the example, or I'm using OpenAI as the main coding agent and platform for the initial development of this project. But instead of burning thousands of tokens, okay, planning and working through the details of what this project should look like, I use ChatGPT, which is about as smart and powerful as Codex is, okay, but it doesn't cost you any tokens directly. Now, if you did this nonstop all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's probably some gate there within the subscription for OpenAI that would cause you to get rate limited. Okay, but in general, I've never run into any problems whatsoever using ChatGPT to plan this out. And you can come back to this project anytime you want. You can update it, and you can continue discussions and refining things without doing it within your Codex agent here within your IDE. Save yourself a significant amount of tokens, and that would allow you to continue to do your coding as needed. Okay. So that honestly is one of my best tips I can give you. And that for me, that's PLD, prompt-led development, not vibe. Okay, questions, comments, drop them in. I will be happy to try to answer them for you. If you got questions, comments, drop them in. I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. For some reason, codexes seem to be a little bit slow for the last couple days. I don't really know why. Let's see what's going on here. Now, if you've noticed, I actually use both Codex as well as Claude Code, and I have subscriptions to them both. Yeah, for some reason, the Codex memory has been a little odd lately. I don't know why. And if you notice, I'm getting some like double layers of text. If anybody else out there is actively using Codex and running into any of these issues, let me know. Yeah, I don't know why my screen. I think there was a VS Code update not that long ago. Let's try this. So what I had ended up doing with this project, again, the project is basically a short-term price movement prediction for Bitcoin. Let's see. As the last. That's not exactly what I was looking for. Why are you? So this is things like this you would never catch with vibe coding. With prompt-led development, if you're truly staying in the loop, there are things you will catch before you ever deploy your software, and those are critical, because otherwise you are just hoping and a praying, which is not a good idea.